Hi students, hope all of you are fine and doing well. Your online classes are going on well, I think. Anyway, I think all of you have watched the English class telecasted on the Victor's channel on the other day. As I told you earlier, this year's English textbook is divided into 5 units. Each unit contains 3 to 4 lessons. It can be either a speech or a poem or a short story or an anecdote. Anyway, each unit is centered around a particular theme or one or two dominant themes. And instead of taking one lesson particularly, you should take all the lessons in a unit together so that you can understand how the same subject matter is dealt with in different ways by different writers, different authors. That is how the textbook is designed. And every unit contains a title. The first unit, Unit 1 of the second year textbook, is entitled Flights of Freedom. What does it mean, the word? What does the word flight mean? Flight means, flight requires an open sky. There should not be any hindrance or obstructions or blocks in your way to have a good flight. Birds fly in the open sky, right? Similarly, when we talk about flights of freedom, it denotes the struggle of women across the globe. It talks about women and their miserable plights of survival. As you know, politicians and social reformers have long been demanding for equality of women in the society. But even in the modern society, even in the modern age, we cannot say that we could succeed in bringing women to the forefront of the society, forefront of social activities. We could not bring them to the forefront of the socio-political realms. So the first unit, Flights of Freedom, discusses women or women-related issues. The first lesson is a speech delivered by Christine Lagarde. She talks about the ways through which women can be empowered, women can be strengthened, and thereby progress of the nations can be brought about. And she lists out 3 essential requisites for the empowerment of women. What are those 3 essential requirements or requisites? Christine Lagarde calls them as the 3 L's. 3 L's means learning, labor, and leadership. These are the 3 L's Christine Lagarde lists out in her speech for the upliftment or empowerment of women. Christine Lagarde, while talking about Christine Lagarde as the speaker, she was the first women finance minister of a G8 economy. She was the finance minister of France. She was born in Paris on 1/1/1957, and she was also the head of the International Monetary Fund. So throughout her life, she stands for the emancipation or the upliftment of women across the globe. So in the present essay, the 3 L's of women empowerment, Christine Lagarde talks about the necessity to empower women. How can women be empowered? Women can be empowered economically. If women are economically empowered, definitely there will be a change in the conditions of women. They have to become economically self-reliant, self-dependent. And what is happening in the world is otherwise. Women constitute 50% of the total population of the world. But her contributions to the GDP is far less compared to the contribution of the male counterparts or contributions of men. So this scenario has to be changed. That is what Christine Lagarde says. This scenario, this situation has to be changed. Then only changes can be brought about in the life of women. You know, the conditions of women are different from nations to nations. The conditions of women in India may be entirely different from the conditions of women in the G8 countries or the conditions of women in the other developed nations. Their conditions may be better compared to developing nations or underdeveloped nations, but still we cannot claim that women could achieve equality with men anywhere in the world. Women occupy a secondary role, either it be in the family sphere or it be in the social sphere. She occupies a secondary position. In the name of culture, in the name of in the name of gender, in the name of religion, women are denied opportunities to prove their potential. The real potential of women are not exploited properly, so that the development process is being curtailed to a certain extent. That is what Christine Lagarde says. Women are denied opportunities. Women are not getting enough opportunities to perform themselves, to prove their potential, to show their capacities to the world, so that they can contribute positively for the development of a nation, for the development of a society. This is what Christine Lagarde says. Before going into the first lesson, let us look into the other lessons as well. The second lesson in this unit is a poem written by Catherine Tynan entitled Any Woman. As I told you, these lessons are interlinked or interrelated. They have to be taken together. Then you get a wholesome picture of the same thing. In the first lesson, we are discussing the empowerment of women. In the second lesson, we are talking about the various roles being played by a woman in a family. the importance of a woman in a family. That is the central theme of the poem written by Catherine Tynan entitled Any Woman. Now, the third is a story, Matchbox. It is a story, talks about the miserable plight of Indian women, the miserable conditions of Indian women who has, who is denied or who is facing an identity crisis, who is being tortured, tormented, and different kinds of negligence. A woman is undergoing different types of negligence. She is in search of an identity, or she is in an identity crisis. It is a story named Matchbox, written by a Bengali writer, Asha Purna Devi. So in that story we see the life of an Indian wife named Nomida, who is the whole story centers around this protagonist, Namida. Protagonist means the leading character in the story is called a protagonist. So the central character is Namida, and Namida hails from a very poor family. Her mother is a widow, and throughout her life she has been picking cow dung to take care of her daughter. And luckily she could send Nomida married to a very aristocratic family, and in that aristocratic family, Namida is ill-treated, humiliated, and Namida is liable to suffer everything, very submissively. She doesn't react at all. So what Namida suffers is being suffered by every woman in India. Namida is just an example. There are thousands of Namidas in our society suffering so terribly, just because they want to keep up the family intact, keep up the bonds of their family. And then the last lesson is an anecdote. As I told you in the previous years, anecdote is a narrative based on a real life situation, real life experience. It is written by Sudha Murthy. She is the wife of the chairman of Infosys, Mr. Narayana Murthy. She's a very illustrious writer. Then and she has written many stories, and Horigalu is really very, very interesting. And when we come to the story, we will discuss the themes, the characters, everything in detail. Now, whatever I told you so far is just an introduction to the first unit. The first unit primarily talks about women and their problems of life. And the first unit talks about women and their importance in the society, the dominant roles being played by a woman in the society, and the sufferings of a woman in the society. And various women issues are discussed in all these 4 lessons, and that is what we are going to see in detail while going through the lessons. Okay, thank you.